Hello, greetings everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back Sunday night now to do another episode of my mini series I've been running now. It's coming up to a couple months, I think. Is it a couple months? No, it can't be that long. Well, it might be a couple months. Anyways, it's my favorite drummers. This will be number 2, episode number 2, my second favorite drummer. Um, I've already given it away this morning when I did this week. And of course, we're going to go with none other than Bill Bruford of Yes, King Crimson, UK, ABWH, whatever you want to add him to. He's very prolific at certain points in history for sure. I think he's easily number 2. I think I decided that he was my second favorite drummer in about the early 1980s when I was really getting into Yes, and Yes was my big band. And even though at that point in time he wasn't in Yes anymore and it was Alan White, I still preferred his drumming style. He just has a really intricate style that suits all the songs that they're in. He can play just about anything. Although he's a very different style than Alan White, he definitely has some exceptional abilities. So originally he was with, I'm just gonna get a little bit of my collection going here just to show you what I got. So he was on this album. You can see him up here between the poles. I can get up close enough. Young Bill Bruford with Yes on their first album. He was with them again on their second, and this big album, which featured Steve Howe as well. He's down here kneeling. He's got that hairdo going. It's more prominent on Time in a Word, that hairdo. Standing there between Steve and Chris. Yeah, it's really strong stuff he was with and helped establish Yes with this album as being one of the greatest prog bands of all time. And I know that he got fed up at this point with the band because people said, well, how could he be bored? Well, he wasn't bored with the music. I'm 100% sure of that. He was bored with them standing around and they're endlessly fixing and refixing and redoing stuff 100 times to try to make it perfect. He was probably sick of that. I can understand that. Being a drummer, you like to keep doing stuff. You don't want to keep just fiddling over the same things 100,000 times. So yeah, that's my guess as to the reason he left the band. And he said he got kind of fed up with every time a new super magician came along, they would replace somebody in the band with that guy, right? So I get that as well. So after that, he was pulled into this band, King Crimson. Technically, this was a much better challenge, I think, in some ways. Some of the guy's been on some of my best albums. This one's currently in my playlist. It's so good, this album, and he's so predominant on this as well. And he was on these other two as well, Red, which is another one that's going to be coming up for me. Nice shot of the three of them there. And, of course, Discipline, another great album. So, yeah, it's in with King Crimson as well. So, with two of the best instrumental bands out there, he played with both of them. And then he did some solo stuff like this one as well. This one's a little bit more jazz fusion-y, very instrumental, but typical Bruford style and everything. And this is an underrated album. Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe. Needed Squire's name on there to become Yes, but it didn't happen, so that's what they were with. This is a really exceptionally good album, much better than a lot of people who don't know that this is Yes, minus Chris Squire, wouldn't know about this, but absolutely killer album. I love the album cover as well, and Bill is a big part of this album. His drumming is the backbone of this, if you ask me. And then, of course, they did a union tour where they got back together with the other members of Yes and formed a union. That didn't really go over that well, but I thought he was exceptional on that as well. The other thing he did play with was Genesis. A lot of people may or may not know this. The average person probably wouldn't know this. As the average person probably wouldn't know who he is, anyways. But he played with Genesis when Phil Collins took over the vocals after Peter Gabriel left, and they put out the album Trick of the Tail. He was the drummer for part of that tour, and most of it was to give Phil Collins that ability to go out front and play, to sing without having to worry about concentrating on the drums as well. So yeah, so that's a bit of a little bit more than a brief history of Bill Bruford, but he has such a lengthy involvement in music that it'd be hard to not mention a lot of that stuff. And of course, there's UK as well, another band that he played with John Wetton and Christ, I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, you'll have to forgive me. My brain is still in this fog of being sick, and I just can't even sometimes remember my own name, let alone somebody else's. Yeah, so then the riff for Bill Bruford, I don't really have a riff in mind. A lot of other drummers, there's one notable riff that I really love by them, but he has so many of them, and his music is so timely in its fashion with all of the music they play that I could just literally list hundreds of different parts and different songs that I like, and I don't really want to do that, so I'm not going to. His style, of course, is very jazzy, very jazz fusion-y if you prefer. Lots of fills, lots of percussion techniques, lots of add-ons, lots of soundscaping, like all kinds of different things. He's just so prolific at it. I think he's probably one of the top 4 or 5 drummers in the world. Well, at least he was. I might be a little bit old now. It's hard to say. Yeah, just an absolute brilliant drummer with a brilliant style. And right now, he's currently retired. And being the type of guy he is, I don't suspect that will change. I know he sold off a lot of his drum kits that he had. I'm sure he had tons of them. His whole house was full of them. But he sold off a lot of them because he has no intention of using them anymore. And being the type of guy he is, he probably would like to see some other people get some use out of it and get some money out of it as well. So, yeah. So that's his current status. And, maybe a right set of circumstances, something extraordinary were to happen that he couldn't foresee, he might come out and play for that. It's possible. I don't know what that circumstance could be. Maybe Yes and King Crimson do a concert together. Maybe he might do something like that. I don't know. But anyways, or it could be an honorary concert for somebody who's passed away. I hope that doesn't happen, but I could see that maybe happening too. But other than that, it would be more of a more or less a one-off or maybe a couple of shows off. I don't see him touring or joining in on anything anymore. It's just unfortunate because he's such a great drummer. But there gets to a point when you just, well, at least for the most musicians, they get to a point where you think it might be time to hang it up. Not too many of them actually do it though, but this is one guy who's decided to do it, and I respect that. So there you have it. That's my drummer for today, Bill Bruford, former member of Yes, former member of King Crimson, former member of UK, former member of ABWH, and former helper to Genesis, and I'm sure there's lots of other stuff that I'm completely forgetting about. And he's my number 2 today. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you got any comments you want to make about Bill Bruford, did I miss something substantial that needed to be said? If I did, put that in the comment section below. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss the final episode, which will probably not really come as any surprise as to who I've chosen. But at this point in time, I've enjoyed doing this episode of Bill Bruford, from my favorite drummers, number 2. So take care and have yourself a good evening. Goodbye.